Welcome back. Did you miss me last week? I know. Thanksgiving. It was Thanksgiving last week. Yep. I missed you too. I really did. But I enjoyed my turkey day. I enjoyed my turkey week, to be honest. I still had to work on my real job, but I did enjoy it. I did enjoy it very, very much. It's always nice to rest, relax, have a little bit of peace and harmony. Had the in-laws over, had the brother-in-law over. No one from my family decided to show up. Of course, I can't really blame them, like states away. But yeah. All right, let's jump into this one. Let's jump right into it. Question number 1. Let's start right at the get-go. Where are you? There you go. What is the primary purpose of MFA in a security system? Now you may be asking yourself, wait a minute, is this really a question for CYSA? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I encourage you, and I want to take this time to do it, right? Because I don't think I've said this before. I encourage you, if you're going for CYSA and you have Security Plus, or maybe you don't have Security Plus, first off, if you don't have Security Plus, you should go back and get Security Plus before you start working at CYSA. I firmly believe that. But if it's been maybe a year or 2 years since you've done Security Plus, I would definitely go back and review my Security Plus series, because any of those questions on Security Plus can and probably will be asked in CYSA. I know you're probably looking at the domains and you're going, well, is it really? Yeah, it really is, because they expect you to know everything in Security Plus. And so, yeah, we're gonna ask some questions. Believe it or not, I took this question directly out of those knowledge units that CompTIA provides. So very much a question you could be asked. So what is the primary purpose of MFA in a security system? Obviously, if you're studying for CYSA, you should know this one already, but we're going to go through it. Let's start with A, to verify a user's identity. That would be part of authentication, obviously. Possible. Is there a better answer? To encrypt sensitive data using user credentials during login. No, I don't think so. C, to ensure only one device is logged in per user account. Is that a property of MFA? Maybe. D, to limit login attempts to prevent brute force attacks. Ooh, I like D too. Let's get rid of C, to ensure only one device is logged in per user account. That's not really a function of MFA. So it really comes between A and D. A and D, to verify user's identity, or D, to limit the login attempts to prevent brute force attacks. What is the primary purpose of MFA? I'll give you about 5 seconds to answer this one. If you said D, you'd be incorrect. That is not the primary purpose. It is a secondary benefit, but it is not the primary purpose. The primary purpose is multi-factor authentication, is to verify the user's identity. The A is going to be correct on that one. All right, question number 2. What does the term false positive refer to? I know some of you are like, wait a second, where did you get these questions? These are pretty easy. I know, but you'd be surprised how many students fail these easy questions. If you're getting a, yeah, I know they're easy. I know. What does the term false positive refer to? Well, let's answer this one, because you should know this one. Let's start with A. An alert for a genuine threat that was incorrectly classified. Maybe. Definitely a maybe on that one. B. A system failing to detect a malicious event. Now that would just be a failure to detect, right? So B, I think we can throw that one out the window. C. An alert for a non-threatening event that was mistakenly flagged as malicious. Oh, that's a good one too. And then D, a system identifying a threat without generating alert. Again, that would be a problem, right? But would it be the correct one? Ooh, that's it. That's a good one. So we have A, B, and D. I don't know. Let's get rid of, which one should we get rid of? Let's get rid of D. A system identifying a threat without generating an alert. I would call that bad technology, right? Because it identified a threat, but it just didn't alert it. So that really comes between A and C. Is it A, an alert for a genuine threat that was incorrectly classified, or was it C, an alert for a non-threatening event that was mistakenly flagged as malicious? Well, if you're thinking false positive, then it's got to be C. A would be a false negative, right? Right? An alert for genuine threat, general threat, that was incorrectly classified. Meaning that there was a threat, but we didn't classify it as a threat. That'd be a false negative. All right. There we go. All right. Question number 3. How can a risk score improve an organization's security posture? How can a risk score improve an organization's security posture? Yeah, I was pretty light on you for the first 2 ones, but I figured we'd take it up a notch on this 3rd one. Don't worry, I made them harder as we go along. I didn't want you to feel like this was a waste of your time. I definitely wanted to rack those brains of yours. So, how can a risk score improve an organization's security posture? Shall we jump right into it? Let's jump in with A. By determining the likelihood and impact of specific vulnerabilities. Possibly. Possibly. B, by encrypting all network communications for sensitive transactions. I don't really feel like that's a risk score, right? That doesn't really help us out. I mean, definitely something we should use, but that's more like an SOP, right? We should definitely encrypt everything, but that's not really part of our risk score. C, by scanning systems for compliance with security baselines. Ooh, that could help us out. That could help us out. I like that one. D, by automatically remediating identified vulnerabilities. Can we do that? We automatically do want to do it, but that's not always something that we can do. There's always costs associated with it, some other things. I would love to be able to automatically remediate all identified vulnerabilities, but that's not realistic. So it really comes between A and C. A and C for how can risk score improve an organization's security posture. What do you think of this? We'll give you about 5 more seconds on this before we move on. As always, if you don't know the answer, you can always flag it, but always guess. Always guess. Remember, playing the numbers, 25% chance to get it right, even by guessing. If you said A, by determining likelihood and impact of a specific vulnerability, you would be correct. Matter of fact, that is what a risk is. Risk equals likelihood multiplied by impact. That's going to be A. So why not B, or excuse me, C, scanning systems for compliance with security baselines. We're going to do that. We're definitely going to do that, but that's not risk. That's not a risk score. And so our answer could be A. Question number 4. What is the primary function of OWASP ZAP attack proxy? There is an acronym associated with that as well, but I did not use that. Did not use it because most people call it by that, and I want to make sure you understood what it actually was. You're probably thinking to yourself, oh my gosh, which one is it now? I have no idea. Do you remember what OWASP stands for? Do you? All right. What do you think on this one? 25% chance if you don't know it. 33% chance if you can just throw 1 out. 50% chance if you get 2 out. Of course, you get all 3 out, then you know the answer, and then you've got the answer. All right, let's do this, right? What do you think? What is the primary function of OWASP ZAP attack proxy, or OWASP ZAP, or ZAP for short? To serve as a host-based intrusion detection system. Probably not. Probably not. I don't think so. B, to detect and prevent SQL injection attacks in real time. Yeah, I like that answer. I do. Maybe, right? C, to identify vulnerabilities in web applications through automated scanning. Maybe. And then D, to provide secure coding guidelines for developers. No, that would be something else. So it really comes between B and C. To detect and prevent SQL injection attacks in real time, or to identify vulnerabilities in web applications through automated scanning. Of course, if you know what OWASP stands for, then you know the answer is C. Then you know it's C. You know that it has to do with web applications. So why isn't it to detect and prevent SQL injection attacks in real time? Well, that would be a web application firewall. That's what that is. So C is going to be our correct answer on this one. Let's get to question number 5. Last question for today. Which of the following best describes the GNU Project in cybersecurity? Which one of the following best describes the GNU Project in cybersecurity? What do you think on this one? I know this last one's a little bit harder. What is GNU? Do you remember? It's in there. It's in the domains. It's in the learning objectives that you have to know for CYSA. I literally go over there into the domain objectives and I go, oh, I'm going to ask a question about this. I'm going to ask a question about this. I'm going to ask a question about this. Believe it or not, that's how I do it. Let's tackle this one. Let's start with A. A framework for detecting vulnerabilities in open source software. Possible. I like that one. I really do. B, a collection of free software tools enabling secure system development. Is it? We'll keep it on the sideline. C, proprietary software suite for endpoint security. Ooh, I like that one too. Which one do we want to get rid of? Do we want to get rid of A, B, or C? Because I really like to narrow it down. Let's get rid of A. A framework for detecting vulnerabilities in open source software. I feel like that's an easy one to get rid of. I feel like that would be what's the name of that one? I want to call it OWASP because I was on there. Jeez, it's gonna drive me nuts now. It's not Nessus, it's the other one. OpenVAS? There we go. OpenVAS. That's OpenVAS. So it's got to be between B and C so far. D, a cloud-based solution for automating penetration tests. No, that's not good. Really comes between B and C, a collection of free software tools enabling secure software development, or proprietary software suite for endpoint security. What do you think? I'll give you about 5 seconds to answer this one. And 3, 2, 1. If you guessed B, well, you'd be correct. It is definitely free software tools. That is all about GNU. B is going to be our answer. Was this helpful? Did you learn something? Do you feel more educated? Do you feel like you're ready to tackle that CYSA Plus exam? I hope so. My name is Dr. K. Till next time, we'll see you around. Have a good one.